and happy Friday, everyone. My name is meteorologist Heather Kane. It's time for our daily hail forecast, sponsored as always by C3 Group, Merlin Law Group, American Contractors Show, as well as Atlas Roofing. Thank you guys for sponsoring our videos. So let's get right into our weather headlines. We do have a chance for some large hail. We've already had some hail ongoing in the state of Texas this morning, and we will continue to see some more hail as we get through this afternoon and evening. So San Antonio, will you get hit by anything? We will get to that in just a few minutes. And then as we get into our weekend, things will start to quiet down in terms of severe weather, but it's going to cool down just a little bit, so we'll talk about what's going on with that as well. And then lastly, we still have Tropical Depression Nicole making her way up the East Coast, so we'll talk about what's going on with that system as well and what you can expect if you're along the East Coast. But before we get to our forecast, I thought we'd finally throw in the Thanksgiving graphic. We are 13 days away from Thanksgiving, so hopefully you guys are going to plan for some good get-togethers. It should be a bit better, this year compared to the last few years with all the stuff that we've been dealing with. So here are our current conditions across the country. Basically, Nicole is the main show overall, but we also have the activity down in Texas. So we're going to zoom right into the eastern part of the U.S. First, here is Tropical Depression Nicole. Her eye is right near the Georgia-South Carolina border. Lots of rain still falling from the storm. We also have a tornado watch in effect for most of North Carolina, getting up into Virginia. This is going to be in effect until 3 p.m. Eastern time. So some tornadoes as well as some scattered wind gusts up to 70 miles per hour are possible with any of those storms that develop with Nicole's outer bands. And then just moving a bit north here, a lot of rain is falling basically from down in the Carolinas up to Kentucky, northward into the northeast, and that's going to continue to slowly move off to the northeast as we get within the next 24 hours or so. And then moving down into Texas, I've mentioned at the beginning, we did have some hailfall this morning in central Texas, and this will continue as we go throughout the rest of the day. It is right along and ahead of a cold front that is pushing down to the south. So San Antonio down to Houston, all the way down to Corpus Christi and Brownsville. Make sure you stay tuned to hear at Hail Trace as well as your local stations in the National Weather Service for anything that happens with these storms. So zooming on out to look at our temperatures. It's warm ahead of this system. It's 86 down in Miami. A little bit cooler here with that rain-cooled rain from Nicole, 68 there in Atlanta. But then you get behind that storm system, and those temperatures are drastically colder, anywhere from 30 to 40 degrees colder behind the system. It's only 30 degrees in Minneapolis right now, 31 in Denver. Now taking a look at our dew points, plenty of moisture ahead of not just the cold front, but also associated with Nicole. We have a 57-degree dew point up in Boston, and then those 60s and 70-degree dew points stretch all the way down to Florida. And then even getting down into Texas, you can see those 60s and maybe even some lower 70-degree dew points there in central and southern Texas. So we have plenty of moisture available for those storms to continue to develop within the next few hours and into this evening as well. So taking a look at central and southern Texas, it's the future radar. Again, just one particular run of this one particular model. You can see those isolated storms starting to fire up here basically from the San Antonio southward. As we get later on into this afternoon, you can see some more storm development just south of Houston. San Antonio, we could see those storms moving on through within the next hour or two. And then getting into the rest of the evening, those storms will continue to push off to the south and southeast. And then getting to around 8 p.m. Central Time, Corpus Christi, you can get on in action as well. So around 7, 8 p.m. Corpus Christi, you could see some severe hail there. And then Houston, you should start to drying out for the most part, except for maybe a few isolated storms by midnight. And then that front should be passing through Brownsville around that time as well. We could see some large hail as far south as Brownsville. The chances don't look to be as high as areas such as Corpus Christi, northward of San Antonio, but those chances are still there for you guys near the border. So now moving up to the eastern coast with Tropical Depression Nicole. Plenty of rain still with this system, so lots of heavy rain, maybe a rumble thunder or two from parts of Tennessee northward, but then you can see those isolated cells here trying to fire up in those outer bands of Nicole, and these will potentially produce some spin-up tornadoes as well as some spotty wind gusts anywhere from 60 to 78 miles per hour. That's why we had that tornado watch out for you guys. And then as we get into this evening, the activity will start to push off to the northeast, and just plenty of rain here from Pennsylvania all the way up to Maine. So it's going to be a wet night for you guys as we get through this evening and into the overnight hours and near daybreak tomorrow morning. So areas such as New York down to Pennsylvania, you guys will be drying out tomorrow morning, but we will still have some heavier rain here in the far parts of the northeast as we begin our Saturday. Now, taking a look at our instability, so this is our CAPE values. This is what the storms need to get going, and they feed on it. So we have some decent values here in the central and southern Texas. And then we also have some instability here in the eastern part of the country associated with Nicole. So we do have that instability there for those isolated storms to develop with any of those outer bands of the remnants of Nicole. As we get into this evening, you can see with that cold front pushing on through, that instability will start to move south as well. And the same deal with up in the northeast with the instability in the Carolinas, as well as getting up into Virginia. And then getting into tomorrow, you can see the instability really starts to drop off. So we should be pretty quiet for our Saturday. But for today, large hail again has already been ongoing in central Texas. We're going to continue to see more storm development as we get through this afternoon and evening. So we have a pretty good chance to see anywhere from $0.5 to up to golf ball size hail from Austin down to San Antonio. And then some large hail even up to 2 inches is possible in the Corpus Christi area. And if we get a storm to develop in Brownsville, we can see up to 2 inches in diameter for any storms that develop down there. Houston, you have a low chance to see some large hail as well, up to $0.5 in size. And then for our wind, we have not just the Texas area, but also along the eastern coast with Nicole. So we're going to zoom on into Texas first. And up to 68 mile per hour wind gusts are possible with the strongest storms, basically from Austin all the way down to Brownsville, eastward to Houston. And then anywhere from 60 to 70 mile per hour wind gusts are possible with any of those storms that develop with Nicole's outer bands from Raleigh, North Carolina to Richmond, Baltimore, northeastward to Philadelphia. So again, isolated tornadoes are possible today, so make sure not just to stay here at Hail Trace, but to keep tuned in to your local news affiliates and your National Weather Service stations, as well as tornadoes with tropical systems. They can happen very quickly, so you don't want to be caught off guard with those. Now taking a look at our future jet stream, we do have that large trough sitting in the middle of the country right now. That jet stream is starting to dip its way further to the south, As we get into tomorrow morning, the jet stream will continue to be in the southern states. That cold air is going to really start setting in as we get into our Saturday as well as getting into our Sunday. And then it really starts to kick even more, unfortunately, for our Monday as well as getting into our Tuesday. So unfortunately, that cold air is just going to be sticking around. It's not going to be really warming up anytime soon. Yeah, I'm not really a fan of the cold, so I'm with you guys if you're not a fan of the cold either. Now, taking a look at our future temperatures, here is our front. It is pushing its way down to the southeast. It's going to be warming up pretty nicely ahead of that front. So Houston getting up into the 70s, but getting behind that cold front, can see that cold air continuing to just sweep on in, and that will continue to do so as we get through this weekend and then getting into the beginning of our work week next week. So any of our contractors, any of our roofing people out there, unfortunately, it is that time of the year where things are going to start being a little unfavorable for you guys to be working out there. So it's sad. So much blue and purple. Yeah, lots of cold air. So here are our future precipitation. Here is Tropical Depression Nicole. She's going to continue to move off to the northeast, and then here is that disturbance that will be bringing that potential for hail in Texas later on, or for the rest of today, I should say. Snow up in the northern parts of the U.S., so up into parts of northern Minnesota and into Wisconsin. As we get into tomorrow, we could start to see some wet stuff or white stuff in the Great Lakes and Ohio Valley. And then that will start to push off to the east as we get into Sunday. But then we're going to be watching here very closely for us here in Oklahoma for the potential to see some snow maybe. We're still a few days out. Things can change. I know the temperatures are going to be kind of on the edge of whether it's going to be rain or snow. So we'll be watching here in the south very carefully. And then that will start to push off to the northeast, and we could see some heavier snow as we get into Tuesday in the Great Lakes region. So checking out our 5-day temperature outlook for Denver, Oklahoma City, as well as in Dallas-Fort Worth. Unfortunately, temperatures don't look very good to get that work done. Maybe getting up into around 40 to 45 degrees. So it's going to be a little chilly out there. Denver, unfortunately, doesn't really look like you may get a lot of work done. It's that time of the year. It's cold, so if the temperatures do warm up, get that work done while you can, because it's not going to get much better. So here is Tropical Depression Nicole. You can see again that eye is near the South Carolina, Georgia border. It's going to continue to push off to the east. And I think by this evening, it's at 7 p.m. Eastern time, we are expecting this to be around the last advisory that the National Hurricane Center will issue for this storm. And then as we get into the overnight hours into our Saturday, it shouldn't be a named storm anymore. It'll just be the remnants of Nicole. So this will pretty much be the end of that named system. And then speaking of that rainfall, lots of it with Nicole. Anywhere from an inch to up to 3 inches of rain is possible here from parts of Pennsylvania up into New York. So a lot of rain still falling right now, and that will continue as we get through our Saturday and late into Saturday night and maybe into the beginning of Sunday. So that is all I have for you today. Do those hail dances if you're in Texas, and make sure that you, if you haven't already, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, as well as our TikTok page. And if you have any questions, concerns, if you just want to say hi, you can give us a call at 855-334-4245. You can email us at info@hailtrace.com and check out our website at www.hailtrace.com. And I am meteorologist Heather Kay. I hope you all have a great rest of your Friday and a wonderful weekend.